Hi, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Tracy.
And this is She's on Top, the place where we celebrate and elevate women.
And this is our show called The New Normal.
And today we are super excited to have Stasia from Stasia Style School. Hi, Stasia.
Hello, how are you?
Good,
How are you?
Great.
This is so exciting for us because I discovered Stasia from her TED Talk, which was called, Dressing for Joy and Confidence. But it's so much more than that. I actually looked this morning and it's up to nearly 500,000 views. And oh my God, I watched this TED Talk. It blew me away. I sent it to everybody. And I'm going to get you to explain a little bit more about your background right now, because even though you run a style school, it's not like you were not like a style girl in high school or anything. Can you tell where this came from?
No, I had broken up with style. I mean, this is part of the TED Talk, right? I talk about it in the talk. I broke up with style like when I was a teenager because it was too complicated and I couldn't get it. It was one of those, it felt like this elusive thing that was for people that had the certain kind of money, the certain kind of family, the certain kind, you know what I mean? And I was like, didn't check the box, didn't check the box, didn't check the box. And so I couldn't figure it out. And the way that we're taught style, it's very categoric, right? Like, what is your style? I mean, this is the question people will ask you, what's your style? Hippie, bohemian, classic, preppy. And I would play in all these boxes and every time just be like, I feel like I'm wearing a costume. I don't get it. Like I could never find a box that fit me, which led me to think I was having an identity issue, right? Because I was trying to fit myself into a box. The box didn't fit, so I blamed myself and assumed that I was wrong. I thought that I was just like, I don't know who I am. I can't figure out if I'm this, or this. What's wrong with me? And I took the whole thing to be a Stasia problem, not the way we're taught about style is wrong problem, right?
Yep.
And so because I couldn't figure it out, I mean, what do you do when you can't figure something out? You throw your hands in the air and you say, forget about it. And then you write a good story in your head that allows you to walk on past and not feel affected by it. So then I spent 20 something years saying, it's what's on the inside that matters. What I wear doesn't matter, that, and living my life. And my, the joke is like fleece, gray, beige yoga pants and sensible brown shoes. Terrible. And I would get dressed and I would feel so homely and I would feel so
like hiding.
Hiding to like the 1000th degree, right?
Yes.
To the point where I'm a very extroverted, loud person. It's sort of my character. I've always gotten in trouble for being loud. When you go back to like elementary, middle school, high school, and it was always Savasuk. I could hear you down the hall. Sort of loud, extroverted personality. And in this sort of identity crisis that wasn't actually an identity crisis, I did this because I couldn't figure it out. So I lost my voice. I lost my laugh, and I would go to parties and I would get a book and I would go read in the corner, not because I was an introvert or because I was shy, but because I was terribly self-conscious and had zero self-confidence, right? Because I just couldn't find my place. I couldn't figure it out. And so I disappeared into, like, I lost my laugh. I stopped laughing out loud and I started doing the like, did you hear how silent that was?
Yeah.
That is not the way that I laugh in real life, right? So it was this whole, I just lost myself. I completely lost myself, and I dressed in a way that hurt my feelings. I wore clothes that hurt my feelings because I thought my body was a problem. I only bought things that were cheap and not like I scored a deal cheap, but like cheap, because that's all I thought I was worth. Right? If you don't know who you are, why bother spending any time or money on yourself? You're not worth it, Stasia. Right? So I had this terrible track going in my head, and it just, I'm telling you, a lot of years in beige. And not that I have a thing against beige for all the people that love beige, but it's just not my color. It didn't make me feel electric or effervescent or brave or bold or beautiful or anything. It made me feel invisible.
And I love the beautiful, beautiful part of it I love about your story. It was really you trying to protect your daughter, but your daughter Raisa, who's kind of amazing in herself, who taught you to come out in what style was, right?
So 100%. So in this sort of my transition into like, now I run a style school, who am I? Like, this is crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But it was raising a daughter, having a daughter who was born with both craniofacial and physical differences, right? So she comes into the world and I'm terrified because I'm a pretty regular person, right? Like I'm a pretty, like I'm a physically normal, whatever that means, right? Just this regular, and I had a terrible time finding my way and my place and seeing and recognizing my own beauty. How am I supposed to raise a kid who's physically different to see and celebrate her own beauty when I can't see mine, right? Like, and it was like, holy mackerel, maybe, but at the same time, I look at her and I see nothing but perfection, right? And so then you start backtracking and being like, wait a minute, I must not be doing something right here. So how can I look at her and see perfect when I can't? Like, I look at myself in the mirror and I just want to cry because I think I'm just so, my body's wrong, my face is wrong, my hair's wrong, like everything's just wrong. So it was that awareness for me that there's a disconnect and I might be telling myself some lies, right? So that was the first thing. And then because I also know that, I can't tell her she's perfect and then walk around hating myself like that. That game doesn't last very long. Like, kids are intuitive enough to know that,
Yeah.
you can't trick a kid. So really, it was like an awareness thing for me. But then what do you do with it? I had no idea. Just like, I can't continue to hate on myself this way. But how do you fix it? Like, how do you
started experimenting, right? Like, you're just trying on different clothes and things?
I did. I was also, so there's a lot of pieces that kind of go into it, right? But so she's little, I can't work. She's in the doctor's hospital all the time. And I would just walk with her. It was sort of my therapy. And we had a thrift store in town because I live in rural Vermont. There was a thrift store in town and I would go there every day. It was part of my loop. And then it was cheap. I was out of work. My husband was in grad school. We were broke, right? Like, and part of my story was you have to have money to have style. Like, you can't spend $4 and be like, that's not the way this works. And so, but I started going to the thrift store and trying, like, for $3 or $4, I just started buying stuff. And then I would realize that on a Monday, I would be, oh, look, I feel like my body is such a good body. And then on Tuesday, I'd be like, oh, I've got this terrible body. My body's such a problem. And then having that awareness at some point, like, well, maybe my body is not, maybe it's the clothes. Maybe the clothes have a thing, right? So as I'm sort of exploring and experimenting with this, my daughter is deciding that she doesn't want to wear the clothes that I want to put her in, right? So you know this story. And so because she looks different, I want to make sure she fits in. So I make sure she's got the little designer sneakers, expensive for a baby, $65 sneakers. Who, like, that's bananas that I would even like. I wanted her to have the things that I never had, to make sure that she fit in because I never fit in. And I thought that was we can spend all of our money and buy her the good stuff, right? So I would get her the cute dresses and the matching panties, and I made barrettes that matched all her outfits. And so I kind of went all in and making sure that she had the cute clothes so that she could fit in. Everything dressy, super girly, and she hated everything. And she wanted to wear, and this started at 2-3 years old, and we fought about it for years and years. She wanted to wear, and I'm gonna throw air quotes because we changed the way we've talked about this in our house, boy clothes. Right? She didn't want to wear the girl clothes. She wanted the boy clothes. And so it was a hard fought battle for me being like, no, you have to wear this because I need to make sure you fit in because you're already different, right? So this is the way that I know how to protect you, is to make sure that you fit in, which was very broken way of thinking, but it was like, that was all I had, right? Like, that's what I thought was the right thing to do. And so we had these battles, and there came a point where, because we thrifted all the time, like I still was on my daily walks to the thrift store. And in one of those walks, she had asked me to buy her a necktie and a button-down shirt. She had been wanting a necktie and a button-down shirt for years. And I was like, never. We already have enough, right? So I'm already dealing with this medically complex kid being a special needs mama, and now she wants to wear boy clothes. Are you kidding me? Parents can only handle so much. I can't do this too. This is too much for me. And here I am, like super liberal, super progressive, and just like, this is not an option, right? So it's funny how when we're faced with something, things get messed up in the process, right? Sort of our bigger worldviews can get distorted when it comes down to the micro, your life, your experience, what you're trying to do as a parent. So we went to the thrift store. She asked me to get her a shirt and tie. I said no. And she's an independent little bugger. And so she, at 5 years old, walked up to one of the staff and was like, will you help me find a shirt and tie? And I was like, fine, you go and ask somebody. And so she goes and she comes back with this terrible shirt and tie, so homely. But it was like $3, right? So she was like, will you get it? And I was like, I'm not getting it. And the staff looked at me like, are you seriously not going to get this for your kid? It's $3. And so I was like, fine. So I got peer pressured into buying it. And we get home, Raisa puts on her shirt and tie, looks in the mirror, and takes her own breath away with that, like, that when you're like, like she did that, like she had that inhale and said, Mama, look how handsome I look. And so this is the story, Then she ran across the living room into the dining room and said, Mama, look how much faster I can run. And then she jumps up and down and says, look how much higher I can jump when I'm wearing clothes that feel like me. And it was that, paradigm shift right there. And you have those moments where you're like, this is the way I live my life. And then something happens and the whole thing just crumbles. And I cried and I cried because it was this, here I am trying to protect my kid, to make sure she fits in. And what I'm saying to her is, forget what you know to be true about you. Listen to what everybody else thinks. You don't matter. You're not worthy as you are. That's the message I'm teaching my kid as I'm encouraging her to stand up and put her eyes forward and her shoulders back. But don't trust yourself. Don't know what you know, right? So it was this huge thing where if I want her to be able to stand up for herself, to know her place in the world, then she has to know who she is, right? She has to know her own self. She has to know her own beauty. And when I put her in the dresses and she does this, and she puts on a bow tie and she does this, which kid is going to handle the criticism better?
Yeah. Well,
right?
yeah. Well, Stasia, your TED Talk was life-changing. Like, it was amazing. And I so relate to what you say. We put ourselves in boxes. We dress for how people think we should dress. We don't feel confident. And I've done that in my life. I know a lot of people have done that. And when Jessica sent me your TED Talk, and then we decided to do style school, I was like, oh, I know my style. Why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. I have to tell everyone that I loved your style school so much. And what I loved about it was when you got us to, like, to go out in the day is how we want to be seen and how we feel. Do we feel strong today? Do we feel sexy today? Do we feel maybe a little quieter today? And to dress how we feel and not how others, we think others want us to be. And so it was huge for me. Style school is fantastic. And so my question now sort of is like, with COVID, we're all sort of struggling. We're inside, we're not going out a lot. How do we dress now that we're home? Should we still dress the same way? Like, one example, like, I've been putting on makeup every day, and my daughter said to me, Mom, it's so nice. Every day you get dressed. And I'm like, yeah, it makes me feel good to put on a little bit of makeup every day and put on like a nice shirt. It makes me feel better. So can you relate to what you're talking about to our situation?
Yes. So I think that COVID time is the time to go all in. So I just finished a session of style school. I launched it right at the start of COVID, right? When everything was being shut down, and I was like, how am I going to do this during the global pandemic, right? Like, and it ended up being this incredible, it was probably my best session of style school yet, because women were able to go all in a way that they wouldn't have dared to if they were out and about in their real life, right? And so there were ball gowns worn on a Tuesday. There were mini skirts worn shorter than what they would feel comfortable wearing out on a day of work. and they start the day and they're like, I don't know about this juice, I'm too old, I don't have the right leg, like, and then by the end of the day they're like, give me, like, I want to get out, I want to go up to the end of the driveway, I'm gonna go get myself some bananas at the grocery, right? So it was this cool opportunity for women to be like, well, I can go a little extra right now because nobody's gonna see me. And so what it afforded was this opportunity to practice being in our bodies and showing up in a way that is true to who we are, that we're too afraid to do in the real world, right? So what happened is gals were like going so far outside their comfort zone so early in style school because they were like, what do I have to lose? Nobody's gonna see me anyway. And so they start out thinking, so it was this cool thing, like, nobody's gonna see me, it doesn't matter, I'm just doing this for whatever. And then so there's no pressure, and then you start to realize how powerful the external pressure is. So once you remove that, what are people gonna think, and you allow yourself to step into something, and then you give yourself this space to get comfortable there and so your comfort zone is here, and this is your growing edge. And if you allow yourself to come up to it, give it a little kick, and sit there for a minute, you realize, oh, this feels really good. And then once you're in that place of feeling really good, you don't give two hoots about what anybody thinks because you feel so good. But what happens in a regular day is that you get dressed, you put something on, you're a little bit nervous, you go to work, you've tapped that growing edge, somebody gives you a sideways eyeball, you cry in the bathroom, come home, you take it off, you swear you're never going to wear it again, right? Because you haven't had that space to practice being in your body in a new way. So COVID time is like the best time to really take it up a notch and use this as an opportunity to, in style school, so since you have been through, there's, we always come up with new words and new language and new, as things grow. So we do like a lot of style labbing. So instead of kind of the pressure of like, I've got to figure out my style, you're like, no, you're just going to take yourself into your style lab and you're just going to experiment, explore, get curious, play, knit, tuck, fold, hook, I don't know, like whatever, like do whatever to your stuff, just play and see where you land. No pressure. You can't fail. It's a win-win because you're just exploring, you're taking the pressure off. Nobody, like, it's sort of this, it's like this freedom zone where you're just free to, this space where you're just free to explore and get curious without having to worry about what people think, because that's something we should let go of anyway, but it's hard in the moment, right? Until you get your feet under you.
Well, it's so brilliant because I completely agree with this for a couple of reasons. First of all, to me, COVID, number one, we're in isolation. So wherever you go, there you are. So you really get to know yourself. Secondly, we're all going to emerge into a whole new world. So why not emerge as the whole new real you? And I have to say, like, after watching that TED Talk, I would look at all your pictures and I'm like, this lady has some serious joie de vivre going on. And I was like, it has a ripple effect when it's what I love about what you do, because it has a ripple effect. I looked at you and I'm like, I want some of that. Like, who am I? Figure it out. Plus, what I love is your style school is so accessible to everyone because you're a thrifter. Like, I watch you sometimes, you'll do these amazing Instagrams and you're in a change room trying something on and you're like,
oh, I love it. It's
so good. I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to get this because it's $9 and that's a little out of my price range. And I'm like, I just spent $9 on lunch. Like, what is she, But the thrifting thing's amazing. Like, that's a thrifted blazer you're wearing, isn't it, Tracy?
Yeah, I was to say, like, I never did thrifting before, and I started after the Star School. This is, you can't really see it, was a red velvet jacket that I bought in a little, thrifting store for like $10, and I love it. And it's like opened up a whole new world for me, because now if it doesn't really work, it doesn't really matter. I can try new things, and the whole thrifting thing has been huge. Yeah.
Yes. I think the thrifting thing, I think, is so brilliant because I can't tell you, having run, I mean, I've just finished my 19th session of style school, which was funny that I ran the 19th session of style school during COVID-19.
19.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It
Yeah.
was bananas. Like the timing of that was so, I'll never forget that it was Style School 19. So I just finished my 19th session of Style School. 1,500 women have come through Style School now. And one of the things that I see over and over and over again is, but I have to wear it because I paid a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
So I am going to punish myself. I am going to make myself wear this thing whether I like it or not, even though it hurts my feelings because I paid a lot of money. And I'm like, I bought something for $4. I wore it 3 times, realized I didn't like it. No skin off my back. There's none of that closet guilt. When you thrift, there's no guilt. When you go to J. Crew and you spend $198 on a pair of jeans and they give you the muffin top, you're going to wear them. You're going to get your money's worth, right?
You know what I love? I loved you did the Instagram thing recently. You have a lace cardigan and you wore it 5 different ways.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like sometimes I have something I'm kind of bored of and I've realized I can repurpose it, you know, like, so just, that's amazing too.
I saw that too. You had another one earlier that I loved where you bought a sweater. And I think you're like, I'm going to cut off the sleeves and I'm like, she's cutting a sweater. Like, what is she doing? And then at the end of it, I'm like, okay, that looks a million times better. And I totally understand that it takes practice, but what I love is that you have us develop our own style, but you also have some amazing tips and tricks. Like I just how to knot and tie cardigans, how to like cut the collars out of t-shirts, like simple things. So also if you don't like something, make it into something you like.
Yeah. I did a move yesterday on my stories that I just did again today. And so it's these funny things when something doesn't work, what can you do to make them work for you? So I have a show, I'll just do a little show. So this yellow shirt, I wanted to wear it with the yellow sweater. It was a combo that I've never done before, but I'm going to show, it's too long. And so it's hanging funny. So that we're losing my face for a minute.
No worries.
Sort of like, it's too much. So I shortened it by tucking it into my bra. And now nobody has any idea, and I just made it the right length.
Perfect.
So cute.
Yeah. You know what's so great is no one knows how, you know, the world's going to evolve after COVID, but you're showing that if you can pivot in your wardrobe, you can mix things up. And so if we can do that with our clothes, we can take that when we go out into the world, because we're going to have to adapt and change. Let's start with our clothing and let's take it out into everything else we do.
So this is, doing the cardigan thing that I just did, the lace cardigan. So I have always worn a cardigan as an overlayer, right? Cardigans go over tank tops, over dresses, over button-down shirts. It's an over thing. So my challenge was not just to wear a cardigan 5 days in a row. It was to wear it as an underlayer for 5 days in a row. And I did it like right in a row. And people are like, I can't believe you did that 5 days in a row. And I'm like, watch it, it's fine, whatever, like nobody's here, it doesn't matter. But it's even like what it taught me, and what I learned, everything I learned in my closet. It's sort of it's my life experimental zone, right? So I think this is the way you wear a cardigan, and I had worn it over all of my dresses, I had worn it over all of my tank tops, I had worn it over all of my button downs. It was exhausted, and in my mind, it was expired, right? Like I've done everything. And then I say, but what if I flip the script? What if I wear it underneath? So I wore it under a button-down shirt. I wore a cardigan under a blazer. I wore it under another sweater. And so it was like, I came up with some of my best outfits of the year, wearing a cardigan in a way that I didn't think a cardigan could be worn. And so it was this realization that here I have this closet of stuff. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have I'm not a minimalist. I'm a just the right amount of stuff-a-list. I just don't have a lot, but I don't have a little.
The new word.
And just the right amount of stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought that I was like a closet ninja and had used everything to its fullest potential. That's what I pride myself on. And then I come up with 5 outfits in 5 days with a cardigan wearing like in a way that I had never worn it before. And I realized just when we think we've utilized everything to its fullest potential, for me, I was like, I'm using my closet at 20% of its capacity. Here I am thinking I'm working at full capacity, and I was working at 20%. And then I think, So these are transferable skills, right? So I have
Yes.
experience in my closet, and then I go into my business and say, this is where I thought I hit my ceiling. I've utilized all my resources. There's nothing more that I can do here. And then I go, if this is true, that I'm only utilizing 20% of my capacity, what more do I have access to? Right? So now I'm like, this is awesome. So this morning when I got dressed after my 5 days of the cardigan, I was like, I'm going to wear this yellow and white shirt five times in ways that I've never worn it. So now I'm on this, I feel like I'm on a little bit of a bender of wearing the same clothes 5 days in a row. It's saving me on laundry too, which is super nice.
Yeah.
Now I got kids home getting dirty all the time. So my laundry there has exploded exponentially. But and so what's cool about it too, so for anybody that's watching and they're in COVID times, pick one thing and see if you can find 5 ways to wear it. And like put it inside out, put it backwards, put it under something if you normally wear it over. Do the opposite of whatever you think it would do. And whether you like the outfit in the end or not is irrelevant, because it's the process. You let go. You got curious. You stepped outside your comfort zone. You did something brave. You got a little, and that feeling is titillating. It's exciting to stretch yourself a little bit. And so it's one of those things that I had some outfits this week. Some of them I loved. Some of them were like, wouldn't repeat it, didn't really like it. But that wasn't the point. I felt good because of the journey it took me to get there. Made the outfit feel good, even though I looked at it, it was like not objectively the cutest thing I've ever put together, but that's irrelevant. And it comes down to, Tracy, what you said. Why do we get dressed? Do we get dressed to look objectively cute to other people, or do we get dressed to feel good? Do we get dressed to feel a certain way? If I'm feeling sad and depressed and on this like ridiculous Corona coaster of emotion, and I say, today, I want to feel creative. I want to feel scrappy. I want to feel gritty. And I go through a process of getting dressed, feel those feelings. The end result of the outfit doesn't even matter because I connected to all those feels.
And I love the way that you related it to business, because I also think, like what you were saying, we're going to emerge into a new world where maybe we're going to throw all the rules out the window. So now is the time, in clothing, in business, and everything. It doesn't matter if you fail. Try it, doesn't work, try something else. Try it, it doesn't work, try something else. See what works for you. Like, this is giving us the opportunity to be brave. And so we're like just super, that's why we wanted to talk to you today, because we're just so grateful, because I think that your work, you were doing it before COVID, but we wanted to introduce everybody to your style school, and we'll put all the links and everything, because it's so relevant to what's going on now, to teaching women. It's kind of what we're trying to do, to like celebrate, elevate each other, because this is the time, like, they're going to need all of us brave, strong, cool women in the world.
Yeah.
100%. I think it's this, I think we're starting to see during COVID time, a lot of people being brave enough to do something new for the first time. I gave a keynote earlier, last fall, and the title of it was Being Brave Enough to Suck at Something New. And really, the guts and courage it takes to try something new, to do something new, to fail, right? But it's not really a failure, but that's the paradigm in which we live. If you don't do it right, it's a failure. As opposed to, you didn't get it right. How would you? You've never done it before. What did you learn from that? And my gosh, are you a gutsy person to dare? Good for you. That's incredible. We don't celebrate people who dare to do something when when they're probably going to fall flat on their face, and then pick them up with tears in your eyes and say, I am so proud of you. That was awesome. Forget what, the end result doesn't matter. It's the guts it takes to get there. And I think this is such a great time. And again, it's like, if you can wear lipstick for the first time, you can do a TED Talk. Like, for me, I'm always like, it's kind of the big joke. I'm like, I would have never done a TED Talk if I hadn't dared to wear lipstick.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and look where you are now.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
And then
it's all these little brave muscle flexings. They're cumulative, right? And one thing leads to the next and leads to the next. And I just think it's, I mean, And I still catch myself. I made sourdough bread for the first time. I mean, like everybody in the world right now is making sourdough bread. It's this funny thing. But I was like, I'm not a bread baker. And I caught myself just being like, no, I can't. I was afraid to fail. And I was like, all right, going in. And it was, you know, I've been making bread like a wild woman. And it's the same process of wearing lipstick for the first time, wearing that red sweater, wearing the low cut shirt, wearing the mini skirt, wearing the bodycon dress. It's the same feelings of what if I fail? What if I make a mistake? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm this? What if I'm that? And I mean, I took my first steps towards that in my closet, and then it's just been like through everything. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I can't tell people enough. They should watch your TED Talk, sign up for Style School. We're not being paid to say this. Like, it really actually changed. I know Jessica and I, it changed our lives. And your advice is current for now and going forward. So thank you so much for talking to us. Hopefully, maybe we can do this again soon.
Yes, please come back.
I really appreciate you giving us, we know how busy you are. Thank you for giving us your time this morning. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your awesome energy. Yay!
Yay, yay. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.